Anyway, chapter 2 of The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Again, amazing writing in this chapter. So the book is from the viewpoint of Susie, who is in heaven. And at the beginning of the chapter, she describes her heaven. My glasses do not fit my face right now, that is bothering me. She says that when she goes into heaven, she sees soccer goalposts in the distance, lumbering women throwing shot put and javelin, and she says that these are people in their own, the other people in their own heaven are just happen to coincide with her heaven, so that's why she sees them. And she also sees the building of the high school where she would have attended, called Fairfax High. Her dreams on Earth were to become a popular girl, and that she would have this great body all of the boys liked, and all of the girls would envy her for, and she would become super popular, and she would use her popularity to protect the misfit kids in the cafeteria, is what she says. And when kids would taunt people for the way they walked or whatever, she would taunt the taunters. And after a few days of in heaven, she met a girl named Holly who would become her roommate, and they had basically the same heaven. They wanted the same thing, so when their heaven grew and they got more things that they wanted, both Holly and Susie would acquire these things. But there are some things that were in Holly's heaven that were not in Susie's, so, and they don't really go into what that is, but say Holly wanted, you know, an ocean, a coast diet, and Susie didn't. When Holly went to the coast, Susie couldn't find her, and she said that she would miss her during this point, but she would always know that she would come back. And they go into saying that their textbooks for their high school was 17 Glamour and Vogue. They didn't have any teachers except for a jazz band teacher for Holly and an art class teacher for Susie, because those were presumably the classes that they loved. And they had an ice cream shop to get peppermint stick ice cream, and no one would say it's seasonal, it's not available, because it was always available. It was their heaven, and it was everything they wanted it to be. And Susie has like an advisor named Franny who can tell her about stuff, like on pretty much told her what's going on and everything, and she can look down on our parents. The neighbor's dog found her elbow, and that's all they found of Susie's body. And so at first her parents are thinking, oh, Susie might be alive, even though she's not, because as they say, nothing is ever certain. So they're thinking hopefully she's alive. But her sister Lindsay, who's 2 years younger than her, I believe, is pretty certain, is 100% certain that she's dead. She knows. And her father goes to tell her they found a body part, and she said, tell me what it is, and after you tell me, I'm going to throw up. So he tells her it was an elbow, and she throws up. She's a really, really smart girl. I really like her sister Lindsay. They say that she's really good at English. She had already finished a paper on Othello, and she named her paper The Ostracized, One Man Alone. Lindsay came up with The Ostracized. She came up with One Man Alone. I just threw my pen. Oh, and this boy, Ray, has a crush on her, and he wrote her a love note that they find because he stuffed it in her biology notebook. So when they find her notebook, they find this note that Ray wrote her, and automatically Ray becomes a suspect, because just like your boyfriend becomes your or girlfriend, I always just say boyfriend, your boyfriend or girlfriend, usually, or husband or wife, usually is the first suspect. In this case, this boy that had a crush on her because she didn't have a boyfriend. They mention finding a lot of blood, but still the parents are like, well, you know, she could have lived, she just could have dropped her notebook and her copy of To Kill a Mockingbird that her English teacher gave her, and she can live without an arm. So they're still holding on to the fact that nothing is certain. and that they will find her daughter alive somewhere. They eventually found the hat, which is covered in her saliva because like it was used to gag her, as we found out in the last chapter. And they said, all evidence points to your daughter's death. I'm sorry. And this is, I guess he's a detective, or maybe just a police officer named Len Fennerman. And her dad's still saying, like, there's no body. But eventually they just kind of give in, and they realize, they kind of accept it, that it's pretty much certain that her daughter's dead. And so they tell Lindsay, like, there's only 1 week until Christmas break. You don't have to bother going back to school for this 1 week. But she decides she's going to. And she gets called to the principal's office. And all of the children are, like, whispering about her. But she gets called to the principal's office. And the principal is trying to, like, counsel her and saying, like, sorry for your loss. And she just goes, what'd I lose? And she, like, pats her, like, shirt pockets, saying, like, I haven't lost anything. And he is totally blown away, doesn't know what to say. And so he just kind of, like, has her go back to class because she says, I'm late for my first period. So she goes back to class, and then we go back to Susie talking about heaven, and she has a gazebo that she likes to sit in, and there are a lot of dogs around because she misses her dog Holiday. So they have a lot of dogs, and they have basset hounds tripping over their ears, and dachshunds, and dogs, and like nursing and everything, and she just loves dogs. And then Holly, her roommate, plays the tenor sax at night, and then they dance with all the dogs, and they just have a good time. And so that's their heaven, and her family is now certain that she is dead. So that's the end of chapter 2.